As the gift-giving season approaches, the anticipation builds of what might be inside that box, or what surprise guest might be joining everyone for dinner. But no one ever guesses that the surprise that would await them would be murder. Enjoy. Covina Massacre, 2008. On Christmas Eve night, Bruce Jeffrey Pardo put on a Santa suit and headed over to a party at his former in-laws' place. Sounds appropriate for Christmas, right? Except for the fact that the presents that Pardo brought with him included a wrapped homemade flamethrower and 4 9mm semi-automatic handguns. When he entered the home, he began shooting at random, immediately shooting an 8-year-old girl who was excitedly running to greet him. Thankfully, she ended up living. After shooting many more members of his former wife's family, he then doused the house in gasoline and used his makeshift flamethrower to set it on fire. In the end, 9 people, including his ex-wife and former in-laws, were killed by gunshot wounds or flames. Authorities suspect that Pardo was still furious about the divorce and having to pay alimony to his ex-wife. While he had concocted a plan to escape by plane with almost $17,000 in cash, the burns he suffered committing this horrible crime drove him to commit suicide. Ashland Tragedy, 1881. While 3 teenagers, Robert Gibbons, Fanny Gibbons, and their friend Emma Carrico, slumbered in the Gibbons home in the early hours of Christmas morning, intruders broke in and beat them to death with axes and a crowbar. The assailants then lit the house on fire, leaving charred remains with their skulls viciously cracked open. A local bricklayer named George Ellis ultimately told police that he committed the crime, along with co-workers William Neal and Ellis Craft. Because the public was so enraged by the murders, the trio needed to be removed from the jail to avoid a lynch mob. Following the trial, Neal and Craft were sentenced to death by hanging, and Ellis was given a life term. The townfolk were furious with this verdict, however, and removed Ellis from his jail that very night and lynched him. Dallas Christmas Massacre, 2011. In another horrendous example of a murderer taking advantage of Santa's jolly effect on people, Aziz Yazdanpana wore the iconic red and white suit to go on a murderous rampage. Like Pardo, he was experiencing financial troubles, and his rage was directed toward his estranged wife and family. Yazdanpana arrived at his wife's apartment, where his family had just finished unwrapping gifts. He opened fire on his wife, daughter, son, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and niece, killing them all in the living room and kitchen. When the police found the carnage, Yazdanpana had already turned the gun on himself. The Los Feliz Murder Mansion, 1959. According to his neighbors, Dr. Harold Perelson was a respectable family man residing in a nice area of Los Angeles. That is, until he murdered his wife in cold blood and then pursued his oldest daughter. After enjoying a calm dinner and putting his 2 younger to bed, Dr. Perelson grabbed a hammer from the garage. He returned to his bedroom and with excruciating force, pummeled his wife's head. When Judy, his eldest daughter, saw the grisly sight, her father attempted the same attack on her, but she was only wounded and stunned. She escaped to the neighbors who called the police, and Dr. Perelson drank a bottle of acid in the living room, leaving all his children thankfully alive. His motive for the murders is still a mystery. Though the actual murder occurred on December 6th, the mansion was all decked out for the upcoming holiday. The freakiest part of all is that the Christmas tree and the still-wrapped presents remain from the original owners untouched, and the house still sits almost exactly how it did on that fateful day in 1959. Though there is a no trespassing sign, the spot has become a destination for visitors interested in the macabre. Charlie Lawson murders, 1929. Just before Christmas in 1929, Charlie Lawson took his large family, wife Fanny, their children Marie 17, Arthur 16, Carrie 12, Maybelle 7, James 4, Raymond 2, and Mary Lou 4 months old, on an uncommonly lavish trip to buy new outfits and take a family portrait. The new garments would turn out to be burial clothes. On Christmas Day, Lawson began slaughtering his family with a shotgun. He shot Carrie and Maybelle first, and then pursued his wife. Hearing the shots, the little boys tried to hide, while Mary screamed. He found and killed them all, even the infant Mary Lou. The only survivor was his eldest son, Arthur, who returned to the farm with a police officer to find that his father had committed suicide. Perhaps the most insidious element of this story is the potential motive. In their book, White Christmas, Bloody Christmas, M. Bruce Jones and Trudy J. Smith argue that based on the testimony of people who knew the Lawsons intimately, Charlie and his eldest daughter, Mary, had likely been having an incestuous affair. A friend of Mary's even claimed that Mary told her she was pregnant with Charlie's baby, and both Charlie and his wife knew about it. The theory goes that Lawson was either racked with guilt or so unwilling to father a child with his daughter that he snapped and slaughtered the whole family. Either way, it's easily the most heinous Christmas murder in the country's history. Well, what did you ask for? An itchy sweater? 5-year-old fruitcake? I'm gonna go ahead and assume that none of you asked for murder, and that is something to be grateful for. So, already, you're off to a great start, right? See you next time.